everyone. Welcome back to Cosmic Fox ASMR. It's been a hot minute since I have uploaded anything, and while I'm still struggling with insomnia, I thought that, one of my pastimes when I am having trouble sleeping is reading Reddit. And I came across some dream stories on Reddit that I found interesting, bizarre, unique. So this will be a collection of all of those that I found. And hopefully, even though I couldn't find rest and relaxation while reading these, maybe this will help you rest and relax. So let's get started. Here's the first story. I've had this reoccurring dream since I was 8, though far less regularly in the last few years, that I'm in a jungle with a friend. I don't actually know which friend, I just know she's with me, and we're running from dinosaur skeletons. We run into this worn-down cabin at the edge of the jungle and into the back bedroom, and jump behind a chest. The dinosaur skull is nipping closer and closer to my face, and I jump out the window above me. But the cabin window sits right on the edge of a cliff, and I fall forward a body of water. I wake up about halfway down every time. It's very colorful and pretty though, and the sun is so bright that I'd guess it was 6:30 to 7 a.m. on a summer morning. And I've never aged since the first time I've had the dream. I'm always 8-ish years old. I don't know. It's a weird one. Definitely slightly weird. I'm always fascinated by reoccurring dreams. I used to have a reoccurring nightmare, but not just a regular old dream, so to speak, nothing that scares me, so those kinds of stories always fascinate me. Let's move on to the next one. When I was in college, I had a dream I was late for high school. I left home and hailed a taxi, which are rare in my suburban town. We get caught in traffic on the highway, so I get out to see what's the holdup, and apparently the entire city of Barcelona had somehow been transported to the middle of the highway. I decide to run the rest of the way, doing parkour and ziplining through the streets of Barcelona until I finally get to the mall in the next town over. It's pretty deserted. I assume because people are preoccupied with the Spanish city suddenly appearing in the middle of an American suburb. I walk through a door in the back of the clothing store, which for some reason leads to my high school, but I immediately fall into the swimming pool, which had been transported in front of the door in the gymnasium. My classmates laugh as I presumably drown, cursing whoever moved the pool. I'm guessing it was the same guy who moved Barcelona. This one is a little bit odd, that's for sure, but I definitely have had some dreams where I'm incredible at parkour and ziplining around, a bit like the cartoon movie Tarzan. How it's almost like he's sliding around. It's a bit like that. Next one. Okay, so last night I dreamt I was at a safari resort with my family. My parents' room had a balcony and viewing deck on this swamp/watering hole area close to the animals. As the sun is rising and my parents are asleep, I go out to their viewing deck and look out to the water to see a herd of animals. Water buffalo, bears, and alligators having a good time in the water. I watch in amazement before hightailing back into my parents' room when I see a giant bear swim quickly towards me. I barely make it inside and watch from the window as the bear sits in defeat, sitting on the viewing deck staring at me. I go upstairs to the balcony where my parents are sleeping and look out the window. A giant moose comes hurling over, pushing the window and balcony with its horns. I scream for help, but my parents don't wake up. In my dream, I wake up in a fright to my partner waking up in bed asking if I had a bad dream. I tell him about my dream, and as I get to the part about the moose, the far left corner of our room's ceiling caves in. I see a camera dangling and bring it to my partner's attention. As he looks over, the ceiling breaks on that side of the room and my cousin falls out. We ask why he's there, and he admits he's been living in our ceiling for the past year since his girlfriend left him. My partner tells him he needs to pay for repairs. Then I actually woke up. It was fucking trippy. That is definitely a wild dream. I have this reoccurring dream, maybe every other month or so, where it starts with me going to 7-Eleven or some other store to buy a pack of powdered donuts. Like the 5-pack for $1.80. But then I get to the counter and I don't have any money on me. The rest of the dream consists of me looking in my couch or my car for spare change. But there's never enough, and I can't for the life of me find my wallet. Eventually, after asking people for change and doing odd jobs for people, I get the $1.80 and head back to the store. I buy the donuts and open the packet. But as soon as I am about to take the first bite, I wake up. Oh, that's gotta be heartbreaking. All that work. You get to your reward in your dream and then poof, wake up time. So, background info. In the Wheel of Time series, people can travel the world of dreams. But it's very dangerous to enter the dreams of others because they have inception level of control over you. Even more so, if they dream of you in a certain mental state, that will happen. I dreamt I was watching some random woman do something menial like carry boxes. And in the semi-lucid state, I remember thinking to myself, what if I'm watching someone else's dream? With a bone-chilling shriek, the woman dropped what she was doing and looked right at me. For the rest of the night, I could not let go of the feeling of being watched. That's a little bit on the eerie side. I do recall hearing about the Wheel of Time book series, but reading this has definitely made me want to look into that series, maybe give it a read. I once dreamed that a wizard in an A-wing spaceship chased my family, who were driving the mystery machine up and down a swirly mountain. Finally, he caught up to us, and he turned everyone in my family into those floor mats that go in cars, except for my dad and me. Then my dad and I picked up our family, who were now floor mats, and walked away. I honestly wasn't even that upset about the situation in the dream. This one's a bit funny, and if anyone's ever, looked into like meaning of dreams. I'm not too much of a believer that dreams have meaning. Not like super deep meaning, but I mean, reading something like this definitely sounds like, I don't know, maybe you would be a little bit happier if it was just you and your dad. My cat and I were interactive dreaming. Our brains fuse and we have the same dream at the same time. And in the dream, she was the leader of a cult, and she really wanted an orange horse. So she sent me to recruit others to our cult, and then we all went hunting through the woods for an orange horse, and we never found one, sadly. Now, with this one, I'm not too sure if the person's being serious about interactive dreaming with their kitty cat, or if that was also part of the dream. A little bit difficult to tell, but still entertaining nonetheless. Okay, with this one, we've got the OP telling their dream story. Somebody who responded, and then the OP responding to that comment. And I found it very interesting, so I included all of that. So with this story, it says, though I have arguably scarier, significantly more bonkers dreams, these puzzle me the most. I have dreams where I'm a viewer, watching myself like a movie. I am 3-dimensional, but the environment is 2-dimensional, like an old Mario video game. I always have to, scoot on my butt down a 2-dimensional mountain. It's so odd and hard to explain. LOL. And the responder says, wait, I can actually imagine that. So it's like a 2D Mario game and you're moving sideways like Mario, except you're 3D? OP says, precisely. And it's always a mountain edge with a forest background and an ocean below. So I'm trying to just scoot down along the edge and not fall. Then there will be the occasional flash of seeing through my own eyes, first person, and everything will be in 3D again, but it's like a diorama. So my immediate surroundings are in 3D, but I'm very aware that there is nothing behind the wall. It's so odd, and I've dreamt this probably 20 times. That is definitely very odd, and I wouldn't be surprised if this person is an avid video game player. Right, we have a couple of short and sweet ones. This one really made me chuckle. So this one says, I've said this before and I'll say it again. Nothing will ever beat the dream I had where I was Iron Man, but my suit was made from buttered toast. No, I didn't butter myself. The other Avengers did it for me. I'm no savage. And can't you just imagine Iron Man, but the suit made of buttered toast? It's a nice visual. Once I dreamt I was a potted plant during the apocalypse. The Earth had been knocked off its normal orbit, so the sun moved around sporadically in the sky, and as a plant, I tried very hard to follow it, so I got my light. A cat came and sat by me for a while, and then somebody forgot to water me, and I went unconscious. I woke back up once being watered again. It was like coming out of a pool after holding your breath for a long time. That would definitely be an interesting dream to have, where the POV is you're a plant. Next one. I once dreamt that I was a Sasquatch hunter. The most famous Sasquatch hunter had gone missing years before I got into the biz, and there were loads of theories about his disappearance. One day, while Sasquatch hunting, I found one. It was in a clearing in the woods and had a hut and a fire pit and other things like that. Lo and behold, the famous Sasquatch hunter was there too. The reason he had disappeared was he had found this Sasquatch, who was a female, had fallen in love, and stayed to live with her in the woods. They also had little man squatches running around. I definitely laughed when I remembered that one halfway through the next day. Actually, would make a lovely plot for a movie, don't you think? Another one about something happening to family members. I had a dream my family was turned into slugs, forced to sit on a wooden bench and watch movies about orca whales. I was stuck in a fenced area next to them and was being chased by rabbits. Not regular rabbits, but more of a human-sized, walks on two legs rabbit, like Bugs Bunny. If I got caught, I too would become a slug. This is 100% legitimate. It started when I was 6, and every so often I have this nightmare. I mean, if this is what they consider a nightmare, that's pretty tame. But I guess as a 6-year-old, when they said that this reoccurring dream started, would definitely be a bit scary. Alright, we've got a very long-winded dream story. So here it goes. It's hot, a dry heat. The high yellow sun beats down on the desert and the distant rocks. I'm in Arizona, perhaps New Mexico. I'm sitting on a lawn chair, one of those cheaply made animals that are all plastic, cords and rusty metals. One of those mysterious pieces of household chattel that no one ever seems to buy yet always has. There is an old, somewhat forlorn trailer behind me. I can tell that this sagging structure was white at one time. However, the yellow sands had tarnished it and formed it into a dirty smile, a smoker's smirk. The door in the middle of the trailer opens and out comes a man. I'm not surprised at this. He's old. Impossibly old, but moves with the ease of a young man. He peers out at me through bushy dark eyebrows. His face is deeply lined and very kind. His hair, which is held together in the back, is long and fiercely black with streaks of white, obsidian, and snow. If his looks did not already give the secret away, his dress and demeanor has. He is Native American. When he is at the bottom of the stairs, I stand. He smiles at me and speaks. You are ready to learn. It is a statement. I am standing close to him, very close. I can smell him. He smells strongly of nicotine and more subtly of peppermint and something else, perhaps whiskey. I will teach you how to walk behind the world." Surprise must have registered on my face, because at this moment he laughs. A good, hearty laugh. A laugh that spreads and is immediately and immodestly addictive. Let's begin. He starts to sing in a low, warm tone. The tune is ancient and comfortable. The words are guttural and foreign. He walks in a small circle as he sings and lifts his hands up and down 3 times. Sky, earth, sky, earth, sky, earth. The world trembles and sways, and there in front of me is the back of the world, as if it had been there all along. Had it? We walk behind the world. The light is muffled here. It is dark. I can see through to world. Maybe it's I can see through the world. Anyways, it is like looking at a stage behind a heavy drop. It is very still here and cool. My skin prickles a bit. He is next to me. He speaks. From here, you can go to any time and any place that you wish. For all time is happening at once, and all places are no further than your heart is from your head. Do you not know this to be true? I know this to be truth, I say, speaking for the first time. Sound is muffled here. Once you have made your choice, this will seem like smoke in the wind. I will seem like a dream. Do not fight this. You will learn many lessons on your travels. Once you have learned perfectly the instruction that the particular pinprick of time that you have chosen has to offer, you will remember. Then you will sing. Then you will dance. Then you will walk behind the world. Sing, dance, walk behind the world. Have you chosen? Yes, I reply. I will be here waiting for you when you return. I walk back into the world. Very explanatory and very deep for a dream. Next story. I've posted it before, but I went to Japan for a bit and liked a drink called Calpis. That stuff was delicious. I bought 2 bottles one evening, one to drink before bed and one to drink with breakfast. I drank the evening Calpis and went to sleep. Turns out Calpis is a lactic acidy drink, so I assume it has the same effect as cheese in producing vivid/odd dreams. But I digress. I was on the subway with the rest of my group. A friend turned to me and looked me right in the eyes. Everything else went silent, but I barely noticed. They leaned in and said, "What did you drink with your breakfast?" Suddenly, I had a flashback. We had left the hotel, and I had left the Calpis in the fridge. "No!" I screamed, attracting the attention of many a Japanese bystander. I woke up, sweating and crying, but damn, that stuff was tasty. I don't know what Calpis is exactly. I can't remember, but I might have had it. But if anyone watches Selena Spooky Boo, she has also done sleepwalking videos, and I know that she says that to like induce her sleepwalking, she eats quite a lot of cheese. I'm a little tempted to try eating cheese right before bed and seeing if it produces vivid dreams. Because I'm definitely not a sleepwalker type, but yeah, that might be one for science. Next one. I had a dream 2 weeks ago where I walked into a house with a girl. The entire place had green carpeting and had two staircases leading up and down. She grabbed my hand and said, "Let's go up to the bedroom." Wink. We started walking up the stairs before I shouted to wait a moment. I then proceeded to find a bathroom on the first floor, fill a bucket with water, then proceed to wash the carpets. I then proceeded to wake up a few minutes later. TLDR, I was offered sex and refused because I would rather clean the carpets. I thought that was very funny. His priorities were to clean. I had a dream once that I was a middle-aged man who owed this mob boss some cash. And so I was trying to hide from him because we were on a boat together. He found me and beat the crap out of me and threw me in a cell. Then, while I was looking out through the bars, I was looking back at myself. Now, I was the mob boss, and I was fucking furious at this guy because he didn't have my cash. I stomped around for a bit, and then I was the boat. I had no limbs, no control over my path, but I was finally happy. It was a good life. 10 out of 10 would be a boat again. We've got another long dream story. I had a very cool dream last night. I was in a movie theater watching Zootopia 2. Before the movie started, there were 2 trailers. The first one was for Shrek 5. And sidebar, I'm pretty sure Shrek 5 is going to actually happen. Very excited. Back to the story. And it wasn't much, just a recap of the past 4 films, including both Puss in Boots films, with clips and everything, and then showed the title, which was, well, Shrek 5, and showed Shrek and Donkey leaving the swamp as all-star plays. Kind of reminded me of the teaser for Shrek the Third on the Over the Hedge DVD, where they basically did something similar. Though, despite this, my theater still had Avengers Endgame level cheers of excitement at the teaser. The second trailer was a teaser for Frozen 3, and it was basically just the teaser for the first Frozen film. You know, the one that tricked everyone into thinking it just be about the snowman and reindeer only. The only difference is that the 2 were with a dude with lightning powers, voiced by James Marsden. Insert obvious joke about how he and Adele Dazeem were both in Enchanted here. Maximus and Pascal from Tangled, and for some weird reason, Sisu from Raya and The Last Dragon, now voiced by Stephanie Hsu. I don't know how that last one would work, but okay. But as for the movie itself, Zootopia 2, the plot was basically a road trip movie crossed with a parody of espionage thrillers, in which Judy, Nick, and a purple snake voiced by Haley Steinfeld, are all framed for an attempted political killing they did not commit, and now are on the run to clear their names. The main villains were a jackal, who was a Trump parody, voiced by Daniel Craig, and a hyena, who was a Bushman-inspired arms dealer, voiced by Gus Fring. The film saw the trio going across country and seeing different areas of the world. One of them being the town from Chicken Little of all movies, and other parts they went to introduced birds, amphibians, and marine life. The film also introduced reptiles as stand-ins for immigrants, with the film clearly having themes of immigration and discrimination against said immigrants. Basically, the film is similar to what my actual pitch for the movie would be. Also, the banter and chemistry between Nick and Judy was still top-notch, but their dynamic with the snake was great as well. I wish I could tell you all how it ends, but sadly, I woke up before I got to that part. Though I will say the one part of the dream that confused me was the Trump parody being a jackal, a carnivore, even though in the first movie, the carnivores were stand-ins / allegories for people of color. So, I don't know why my mind thought making the Trump parody a jackal would be a good idea. There's no deeper meaning to this, I just thought it was a fun dream worth talking about. Definitely sounds like, watching the news and political parties, debating could have affected that. Next one. Last night, I dreamt an old friend, Kendra, was getting married. I wasn't a part of the bridal party, but I was there as a guest. Her groom-to-be, Jesse, that she doesn't have in real life, LOL, had broken his ankle and was hobbling around whining incessantly. Kendra's older brothers were getting irritated with him for it, especially when they heard him pressuring her to leave the reception as soon as the cake was cut. After the ceremony, the brothers decided to run interference and donned some ghost face masks. Then, armed with neon green pool noodles, they chased him around and thwarted his attempts of getting to Kendra. She was left free to mingle with family and friends. They said their quote-unquote swords had been forged in the fires of Mount Dew, and they needed Jesse to help them in their quest to return the One Ring, a giant ruby ring pop, safely to Castle Rock via a mission dubbed Code Red. I shit you not. Why? I don't even drink soda. It's very funny. I really like the swords being forged in the fires of Mount Dew, like the drink. Silly. My, at the time, best friend and I were at a school, except the school had huge fields, and we were on one of those. We were sword fighting, but with little daggers, until a rake randomly spawns in her hand, which she starts swinging at me with. Then we were teleported inside the school for a scheduled bathroom time. The bathroom was magical. The toilet had a blue and purple mist around it and everything. The owners of the toilets had to check in on whoever was in the bathroom to make sure they didn't ruin the magic toilet. They were very special for some reason. That's all I remember, except for waking up very confused. Maybe this person really needed the toilet. Okay, we've got another long-ish dream story. I was on a floating shanty town in the sky, huddled together with two of my good friends, Mike and Dorian. I remember being super confused because we were all in some found object Mad Max armor type shit, and we had fully automatic rifles. I kept asking them, "What is going on?" And they kept shushing me, but I was getting more and more angry. "What the hell is going on?" I yelled. My voice echoed, and in the distance we heard a bunch of tiny yelling voices, almost like a bunch of little Tasmanian devils. We were being bum rushed by these gray imp-like things, so of course we go apeshit and just unload on these motherfuckers. Well, after all the things were mowed down and the commotion ended, we were relieved. Dorian lights up a stogie. He doesn't smoke in real life. And Mike slumps down under the window he was shooting out of. "Mike, if you don't tell me what the fuck is going on, I'm gonna lose my shit," I said. Mike just busts a grin and begins laughing. I look over at Dorian and he scoffs as he exhales his cigarette and shakes his head. "Am I missing something?" I asked them. Mike sighs. "That's not even the worst part." Almost immediately after he says this, the ground starts to shake and a huge red flash takes over the window Mike is sitting under. We all rush outside and look in the sky. There's a giant motherfucking betta fish flying through the sky. They start screaming and shooting. I start screaming and shooting. The fish is ramming itself into the floating town, trying to knock us off. It's crazy as fuck. Finally, it knocks me off and I fall all the way to earth, below, only to wake up a second before I hit the ground. That is a pretty wild story, and also would make a pretty decent movie plot, I think. Alright, we've got another long one, and it's a bit of a weird one. Here it goes. I haven't been getting that good sleep recently, but I often get dreams. The start of my memory begins like I'm in a mascot horror game. I'm in some large underground facility. I get to a door that's closed. A screen flashes to life, and on it is a girl. She ominously says, "I need you to let me out so I can go back in." Her face melts, and I get chased by a robot. It's Ennard from FNAF. I run for a short bit before riding up a service elevator. Before it can reach the ledge, however, Ennard extends out his hand like a grappling hook and pulls. This breaks the elevator, sending it falling down the shaft. I'm not hurt, not at all. And Innard is gone. I'm quietly running down a hall, which opens up into this ginormous room, say 100 feet cube, with stairs descending down the side. I run down the stairs, quickly and quietly as I can. When I get to the bottom, there is a door across the room. Next to it is another stairwell, parallel to the door, descending into the floor. There is an exit sign above the door, but I see someone is about to enter. So I decide to hide halfway down the second stairway and wait for him to walk past me. Instead of Innard, a man walks through. Now, the room is incredibly dark, but I could tell that he was dressed in a black pinstripe suit. He had long, curly black hair and a fedora. He was limping and holding his arm. He was inside Innard. I stay as silent as I can, but I'm terribly out of breath from the chase. He slowly makes his way across the room and starts climbing the stairs. He was halfway up the stairs when I decided to move. As soon as I did, he turned and in less than a second ran down the stairs, across the room, grabbed me, and screamed a high-pitched scream. His eyes rolled back, his pale white face lit up and covered my vision. For some silly reason, the villain in my nightmare was Michael Jackson. And after 2 nights of terrible sleep, I had woken up at 5:30 and couldn't go back to sleep because of Michael Jackson. The dream wasn't even scary up until the jump scare. It was like playing a game, but the Michael Jackson ruined it. I don't know why it was him. He hadn't entered my brain in months. It definitely sounded like a dream inspired by FNAF. But yeah, I agree. The Michael Jackson bit, a little bit weird. Next one. Before this dream, I had consumed so much sugar, way more than recommended, and had been up about 30 hours straight. So when I went to sleep, I was totally out of it. It started off in a small, tight underground tunnel. It was dark and dimly lit. Everything seemed to be like flashing in and out of existence. I was going Lord only knows where, trying to move away from different horrors. They would just snap into existence, then snap out like they never existed. Coming from the walls, floors, and ceilings, etc. All different types of creatures that I'm scared of. Snakes, spiders, etc. Not just normal ones either, but glowing ones of different colors. Picking off people right and left in a group I was running with. The tunnel came to a light that blinded me at the end. The light was something terrifying, but my subconscious figure didn't fear it. A light show, sort of, an OC of mine I've imagined countless times, howling in rage, who tore into the charging creatures from the tunnel. They broke into these shard-like pieces, scattering with every hit. What started a nightmare ended in peace, as I felt drained, falling to my knees in the dream. I didn't know what I expected to happen, or even if anything I was thinking would happen. Then my OC, a approached, covered in shards, and gave me a tight hug for a second before dissolving into nothingness, too. The last thing I saw was his smile. I woke up immediately after, confused, still tired, with a headache and dry mouth. And just for those who don't know what OC means, it means original character. So they essentially dreamt that their hero was a character that they created. Wholesome. Next one. I have really strange dreams quite often, but this one takes the cake. It happened about 12 years ago, and I still remember it vividly. At the time, I was in an art club at my school. In the dream, this art club was going on a long-distance field trip to Africa. The dream started with all of us arriving in the jungle, where we were told we would sleep. So, 20 or so kids laid down in the grass to sleep as tigers constantly ran past us and jumped over us. The dream then sort of shifted, like I was watching through a camera and the camera panned to a big rock wall, then up the wall to a cliff, and at the top of the cliff, right at the edge, was a skating rink, right outside the jungle, in Africa. Most people at the rink were skating happily, but across from the cliff sat a seemingly homeless man, holding a baby in his lap. Between him and the cliff, through the skating rink, there was a sort of trench. And every 30 seconds or so, the baby in the man's lap would grab a deer carcass and push it through the trench, across the rink, and then the carcass would fall off the cliff. The camera pans again to the bottom of the cliff, where the dead deer have been falling. There's now a sort of alcove at the ground level, where there stands a giant Mankey. Yes, the Pokemon Mankey. He's eating the offerings of the deer and just doing Mankey things, I guess. From there, things get a little fuzzy. I remember the adult chaperones from the field trip encountering the Mankey and trying to climb the cliff, but nothing more than that. A lot of wild and random things for sure in that dream. Next story. I had a dream that my mom took my sister and moved to an underwater city to be mermaids, but my sister sabotaged my chances to go with them. So I ended up trying to find them myself. Along the way, I went on a submarine where I witnessed an orca and a narwhal fighting each other in a boxing ring. Shortly thereafter, a man stopped me and said that he had a message from my mom to me, gave me a single hair from his beard, and left without giving me the message. Very odd indeed. Right, another long one. I have dreams most nights, so weirdest is kind of a tough one. The one that's stuck with me the most is one where I woke up in a helicopter. No idea how I knew it was a helicopter. It looked more like a submarine in retrospect, but anyway, it was a helicopter. I was on a bunk of some kind built into the wall, and as I stood up, a fox in a suit walked into the room carrying a platter of food. I was utterly terrified and ran past him into the corridor, all narrow and metallic. I looked both ways, saw a wolf dressed as a security guard in one direction. Oh yeah, they were both standing on two legs, by the way. and ran in the other direction into the cockpit. My mother was at one of the controls, my best friend at the other, and I looked between them at a small screen showing one of those scrolling shooter games with a plane/helicopter/spaceship where all the bullets and other projectiles move slowly. You know the ones. I pointed to something on the screen and screamed, "That's me, that's me," then ran out of the room into the corridor again, but it was bigger now, and there was a bench with 3 buckets on it next to me. 1 small, 1 medium, and 1 big, along with a toy car. I looked down to the other end of the corridor and saw a toy fire truck blocking the exit onto the air bridge to the airport. After mulling it over for a bit, I grabbed the toy car and dunked it in the smallest bucket. When I pulled it out, it was significantly bigger. I repeated this for the other buckets and jumped into my now full-sized car. I sped down the corridor and pulled into a jump over the fire truck onto the air bridge. Everything started to go fuzzy, and suddenly I was scrubbing chalk off the ground at my old school and was about to dunk my sponge into a series of buckets to make it bigger when I woke up. TLDR, well, I can't really explain it. It was a weird dream. Considering the question, did you expect a TLDR? Definitely has some Alice in Wonderland aspects. Next one. I had a lucid dream that I, a man, was a female scientist aboard a massive interstellar spaceship. There were these walls filled with little bubble-like pods with people in them. Some sort of mass cryogenic freezing, I assumed. I walk into the main bay where there were hundreds of scientists in lab coats and hologram tablets. At the very center was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. It was a digital hologram of the solar system we were headed for, floating high up in the room. Around the planet were these pink and golden clouds that looked like floating cotton candy. As I approached it, I felt my gravity shift and I began floating up, and I was pulled into the gravitational pull of the planet, which made me move in slow circles around them. I pretty much spent the rest of the dream being absolutely amazed that I was experiencing that, doing flips and spins. Next story. I was in an old Aztec ruin, and it turned out to be an advanced library where, instead of books, it was shelves of vials filled with blue smoke. When you used a vial, it would make a smoky apparition appear on a central stage, playing out the book. Anyway, I found my favorite author, but all the vials were cracked and faded, and so it was like watching a scratched DVD. Suddenly, a buxom, sexy lady appears, tells me she's the witch queen of the library, and offers to fix the vials, as well as have sex with me, on one condition. I successfully navigate a gauntlet of traps and shit and reach her throne, and then disappeared, reappearing on the other side of the wall with moving platforms and pillars and acid traps and spike traps, sitting on her throne, all scantily clad. So I start running the gauntlet, avoiding traps and stuff, flying a bit, 'cause flying dream also apparently. As soon as I make it across, my cat jumped on me and woke me up. So that's the second dream story that we've come across where, unfortunately, the dreamer just didn't get lucky. Next dream. I kind of had a dream inside of a dream when I was 4 years old, and I still remember it decently well. I was with my brother and a bunch of random people who claimed to be my friends, and we were all on a farm fighting weird witch creatures. I was sort of like the chosen one, quote unquote, and had the power to fight the witches and then make a portal to other places to fight more witches. I went to a library, a second farm, and then back to the first farm. The witches sucked most of my quote unquote chosen one power out of me. So I was super weak trying to escape into the final portal that would kill all of the witches, when I suddenly realized I was in a dream and, quote unquote, woke up into the second dream. The second dream lasted all of what seemed like 10 seconds. I was laying in my bed as if I had just woken up, but my brother's bed was empty, and next to my bed on my nightstand there was a Happy Meal with chicken McNuggets and fries. I grabbed the bag to eat it, but as soon as I reached for it, I woke up. I was very disappointed I couldn't have McNuggets for breakfast. Still confused about what both of those mean. The witch part definitely sounds quite advanced for a 4-year-old, but the part where there's a Happy Meal waiting on the side table for breakfast definitely sounds like something a 4-year-old would dream up. Right, there are only 2 more sleep stories left, so we're going to do the long one first and then the last one. There was this dream I recall having multiple times over the course of 10 years, from my 4th till my 14th. Multiple times equating to close to 40, pushing 50. It was me, as a human, in a world inhabited by dinosaurs. There were several dinosaur friends, one of which was a pterodactyl. After climbing on its back, he had a name, but it escapes me. I could see the entire world in which my dream took place, and I could pick where I wanted to go. It almost seemed like an overworld to a video game, choosing which level to go to first. This is where the element of dreaming the same dream comes into play. Say there are 5 of these places I could go. After going to one in dream A, I would pick one of the other 4 in dream B, one of the remaining 3 in dream C, and so forth. Except it wasn't only 5 of these places. It's closer to 30, closer to 40 even. I vividly recall one of these districts to be a jungle, inhabited by big magenta-colored lizards that lived in wooden huts. Another was a place filled with lava, with only slabs of rock and mountains to stand on safely. I could easily describe 10 to 15 more in great detail. It was strange. What I'd done in dream A would have an effect on all the dreams after. The last time I had the dream, it felt like the finale to an amazing yet cheesy TV show, with me riding on a pterodactyl and commanding a force of dinosaurs attacking a mountain held by evil dinosaurs. They weren't killed, but were talked into being milder than they were before. I was 14 the last time I had that dream, and I had to genuinely say that I'm slightly sad to have not experienced it for years and years. Just thinking about it takes me back. It almost felt like a long, extremely convoluted questline in a video game. I definitely liked reading that one because I love dinosaurs and I love a certain dinosaur game. And I would love if the dinosaurs were humanoid and in villages, definitely. Okay, last dream story for this video. Earlier this year, I dreamt that it was 1998 again. I was back at my childhood home and was the same age that I was back then. My whole family was there and we were celebrating something. What made it weird was that everything I saw was through the lens of a home video camera, with a date stamp and everything. There was even film grain, so it made it seem like the whole long dream was a home video I was watching, but all the events of the dream were fictional. It was super surreal. That was a nice, wholesome dream story. Definitely felt nostalgic to me, and I can definitely envision it since I'm from the way back whens. Anyways, I do hope that you all enjoyed these strange and bizarre sleep stories, and I hope you all have a wonderful good morning, good evening, or good night. Until next time, bye.